ActionSA has today announced their intention to introduce the Lobbying Transparency Bill, a private member's bill to establish South Africa's first comprehensive statutory framework regulating professional lobbying and promoting transparency in political and executive decision-making. The party says the bill is aimed at creating greater ethics and transparency in democratic governance frameworks. For more on this, we're joined by ActionSA Member of Parliament, Athol Trollip. Athol, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Describe to us the basic underlying principle and mechanism of this bill.
Well, thank you very much, Oliver, and thank you for having me on your show, and good evening to your listeners. First of all, this is the second private member's bill that we are tabling in Parliament regarding transparency, because without transparency, our democracy is severely undermined. The first one was dealing with the election transparency bill, where it seeks to regulate how pollsters interpret polls just before elections. This bill is based on lobbying, focused on lobbying. Not because of the latest revelations made by the former leader of the DA, John Steenhuisen, about resolved communication, but because in the last 30 years, South Africa has been on the receiving end of some really poor decision-making, and we don't know who the actual influencers or lobbyists have been. You know, Oliver, you can think of the arms deal. There were people that influenced decision-making there, and they benefited. You can think of state capture, digital vibes, and recently resolved communications. But we must never forget the role that Chancellor House has played in South Africa. They are a lobby group for the ANC. They have benefited enormously on behalf of the ANC through some of our biggest infrastructure builds, like Kusile and Medupi Energy. And we just believe that it's now time to fix this lacuna.
I would imagine, in terms of filling that lacuna, Athol, that there would be some sort of disclosure mechanisms that you're envisaging. What would that look like?
Yes, we absolutely have got some disclosure mechanisms. So the first thing is that there would be a mandatory public register of all lobbyists. So if you're a lobbyist and you're lobbying on behalf of companies for remuneration, you must be on the register. And therefore, thereafter, there must be transparency around engagements with all people in authority or decision-making positions. That would include MPs, MPLs, executive councillors, premiers, MECs, etc., ministers in particular. And those meetings with lobbyists must be recorded by departments, and they must be regularly reported on to ensure that there's that transparency that I'm talking about. And then, of course, there'd be a cooling off period. If you leave office, you can't go back and lobby in a department where you were an MEC or a minister before. That would be for a period of 1 or 2 years. And then we propose that there's independent oversight. We don't propose to build a whole new bureaucracy. We believe we could use institutions that exist, like the Public Protector, for example, to oversee and monitor this, to ensure that there is transparency and that people know who is being lobbied and for what reason.
Yeah.
This expressly does not exclude communities and individuals approaching government.
Yes, my next question was going to be, what is the position of this bill on public interest lobbying?
Public interest lobbying there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing sinister with it. We don't have a problem with public interest lobbying. We have a problem with lobbying for remuneration. And that's where the real issue is. So we do not seek to exclude public interest lobbying or people approaching ministers, MPs, MPLs to resolve issues of concern.
One can imagine a situation where, and this is, reportedly and, purportedly rather, popular in the energy and mining space, where often public interest lobbyists are really just public interest fronts for corporate interests. Many might argue, where do you draw the line?
Well, you've got to, if you're lobbying for public interest, but you're lobbying for corporate interest, then it's not public interest. Corporate interests are not public interest. So the registration process would be very specific, and we will make sure that in the proposed legislation that we are intending to table in Parliament, that there is very tight specifications around who does need to register and who does have to record interactions and discussions with decision makers in government.
Athol, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Athol Trollip, Member of Parliament for ActionSA.